This is Steve A here doing a video for my Home Depot review of the Kreg Pocket-Hole Jig 700 series. Specifically here, I have the Pocket-Hole Jig 720 Pro. This is one of their newer models here. I'll zoom out real quick. You can kind of see the whole kit here. I'll come back in. And I'm going to give an overview of this tool. First, I'm just going to kind of explain, if you're unfamiliar with the Kreg Jig, what they do. Basically, this tool drills a bunch of measured holes at a very nice angle to create little pocket holes. And why these holes are great is, as you can see here, you can drive a screw into that hole and join two pieces of wood. So what this does is this alleviates the need for using dowels or brackets to secure two pieces of wood together. The jig allows you to very quickly screw one or more pocket holes into a piece of wood, generally to join it at a 90-degree angle. You can also use it to butt two straight pieces of wood together. Just imagine if those were parallel to one another. So basically, this makes joining two pieces of wood very easy and quick to do. It also creates a strong, it creates a strong bond with the nail. And usually you're going to want to put some wood glue in there to make an even stronger bond. If you are a DIYer or professional, you make furniture or crafts or whatever, this is definitely a tool that you want to have for joining pieces of wood. I've used one of these over the years, not the 720, but I have my old K4 here. This is a Kreg model K4. This is one of their kind of older, more popular models. I've used this for making tables, chairs, all sorts of things. I've used it for shelving. You can make these little pocket holes underneath shelf boards and secure it to vertical pieces of wood or supports in a shelf system. It's been great for that. So I'm going to kind of compare this jig to my old one as we go through to kind of show some of the improvements. But first, I'm just going to get into the actual kit and what comes with it. First, you get the instruction manual. You get the 700 series jig, which is here in the middle. This is what you make your pocket holes with. Next, you get these two, they're like storage containers, but also supports on either side that clip in. And these are good if you have a large piece of wood that comes across. Let me grab a piece of scrap here. Okay, if you got a big piece of wood here, you want to put some pocket holes in it. These will help keep it from wobbling around. On my old K4 here, a big piece of wood like this would make it wobble back and forth unless you held it steady or had the jig clamped down. So that's good for that. Also, it has this little marker guide here on the left. I'm kind of dinging it with the wood. You can slide that back and forth. So if you're putting pocket holes in the, in identical pieces of wood for a piece, you can have a marker there so you get them in the same spot each time. Good. These storage bins, before I move on from them, they also, both of them open up and they have storage inside. So you have that. Next, again, kind of another item before I get into the bits and drivers. There's a dust port adapter here. It pushes into here. And there's a larger adapter too. This will fit anything from 1 1/4, 1 7/8, and 2.5 inch shop vacs. And this will basically help your shop vac all the shavings and sawdust from what are fairly sizable holes. Okay, so next there's a 3-inch and a 6-inch driver bit. These are square driver bits for driving the screws into the pocket hole. All Kreg jig screws are a square bit, everyone I've seen. And the long bit's good because it's a pretty nice angle to put that screw in, but it also comes with a 3-inch bit too. Next is a hex wrench for adjusting the drill bit I'm about to show. It also has a depth guide on it, and you essentially put it, I've been doing on this one here, you put it on your piece of scrap there and it'll tell you how thick it is. So this is 5/8 inch piece of scrap, so it'll fall in the 3/4 inch range here. And then what that does is it helps you adjust your collar on your drill bit. So this is the drill bit. Just put it in your drill. When you have your piece of wood set in there, you can drill out the pocket holes that you want. This depth collar stops the drill bit at a certain point, and it's set by thickness of wood. So you can see here there's a 1/2 inch. I have it set to 3/4 of an inch, which is also the right setting for 5/8 inch. And there's also 1.5 inch. And basically, if I had this set to 1.5 inch when I was doing a 3/4 inch board, basically what would happen is I would drill the hole through the other side of the board, and it would look really bad, and I'd have to throw out the board. I will note this drill bit is really good. It's a really good quality bit, and it is very sharp. Where this depth collar is really handy on the old K4, and I think I have my bit. Yeah, the bit's in here. The old K4, what you had to do was you had to put the bit here, and you had to essentially adjust. You had to manually adjust the collar based off the depth of wood here, which is, there's also a marker on the other side. So it is a lot easier to just be able to drop this collar down, tie it up, so you can adjust that fast. So, okay, so I've covered all these things here. The other thing it comes with is a bunch of screws. I get into the screws a little bit. You get 1 1/4 inch screws, which are great for 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 5/8 inch pieces of wood. These are fairly good quality screws. As I said, they'll have that square driver bit. There's a whole lot of screws that you can get for these. And there are also charts on the internet to find out what screw size that you need for whatever type of wood that you are putting pocket holes in, or the thickness of it. Also comes with 2.5 inch screws. I've never had to use these. I believe these are for larger lumber, like 1.5 inch. So, but you get 2 boxes of screws to start yourself off with. Actually, now that I look at it, I don't know. Oh, sorry. There are 100 of the 1 1/4 inch and 60 of the 2.5 inch screws there. So, okay, so I've covered everything. Okay, let's move on to the jig here. Okay, so this is obviously a lot larger than the K4 jig here. What you get is a much more stable jig, and when you secure a piece of wood in here, you just push down, clamp, and lock, no matter what the thickness of the wood is. Before, on the K4 here, you had to pull this back, and you had to put your piece of wood in there. Actually, I have a scrap over here. Let me grab. This is a scrap 2x4. You had to put your piece of wood in there. You had to clamp it up, and I can't tighten the clamp all the way, so I'd have to loosen this bolt here and get enough pressure that the clamp comes forward and locks. Not sure if I can do this right now, but we'll try. Let's see. Let's have to loosen it up more. So as you can see, this is quite a timely process, but eventually you get it, you lock it forward, and then you can drill your pocket holes in this side. So with the new 700 series, let me try to turn to a nicer side here. With the new 700 series, regardless of the thickness of the wood, you just place it in the clamp here, and you come back, push this down until it locks. Okay, so I can do that for 3/4 inch, 1.5 inch, which is what I have here. You can see it took me like a minute to get that sort of adjusted. I never really got it right, and now here I just push this down, and it is clamped. Also, you can adjust the tension on it slightly here. So anyway, you just stick your wood in, you drill your holes exactly where you want your pocket holes. These little dots here, this dot's the center line between these 2 holes. This dot is the center line between the 2 outside holes, and this dot is the center line between these 2 holes. Generally, you want at least 2 pocket holes in each piece of wood, especially if you're doing something relatively thin. in the instruction manual here, it'll tell you, depending on the width of your wood, which of these pairs of holes that you want to use. So you drill it out. Your shavings, if you don't have your shop vac thing in here, will collect in here for a while. After a while, they'll just start to pour out and make a big fat mess. But if you have your shop vac adapter in there, you can suck those out pretty quick. Okay. All right, let me take mine out. Release is easy. Put that off to the side. One thing I'll note, I don't think I mentioned this yet, the kit also comes with a clamp. You can secure the jig down. I don't have it on really tight right now because I'm going to remove it and move the jig around for this video. But it does come with a clamp too. So, and actually at this time, let's go ahead and remove that clamp. Take that out. So that's good to keep it down to your workpiece. The big thing, I'm going to try to do this with one hand right now. These little storage bin stabilizers, they do secure in here pretty well. I left them loose because I knew I was going to move it. But I'm going to set these off to the side for a minute. Alright, so if you're not using these, one option you have, there's these little wings that come out. And you can pop these wings out on the side here. Get these out. Okay, so this will keep your jig stable too. Okay, you don't really get much of a wobble there at all. Another thing you can do is there's screw holes right there and there. You can use screws to screw this down to your workbench too. You know, kind of goes along with the name. This is the 720 Pro. You know, I am a DIYer myself and a amateur to intermediate carpenter. But if I had a very large workshop, I would have this secured down to my bench via screws. So anyway, right now I have the jig oriented this way. One thing I can do is I can flip it around this way. And I can put my clamp in here. And I can clamp my jig down. And if you have a really long piece of wood that you have to put pocket holes in, you can work it this way, because if I had the jig back up right side, that long piece of wood might hit the ceiling. So if you have a really long piece of wood, you can secure it down this way, clamp your wood in, and drill your pocket holes. Okay. Kind of spin around. One thing I'll note on the back side here, kind of neat little feature, excuse me, on this back side. All right, on this back side here, there's a little storage area. Which I really like. You can stick your drill bit in here. You have to loosen the collar up, or actually, you know, I think I can do it this way. I'm still getting used to this. You can secure your drill bit in here. Both of the driver bits fit in here in these handy little compartments. Okay, and your little hex wrench can fit in there, so there's a nice little storage spot. One thing I'll note is when you have this collar in here, well, obviously you're not going to have the drill bit in here when you're using the jig, but for storage reasons, it will not sit right if you have the bit and collar in. So this is a nice little feature I like for storage. So and that right there is pretty much everything overall on this jig. Just spin it back around. I'll go back to the K4 really quick. And one thing I'll note too is another thing you had to adjust on this per the thickness of your wood. You had to actually adjust the actual jig insert itself. So you can see the last time I used this, I used 5/8 inch thick wood. That's also something that you don't have to use on this. So this, if you're just making pocket holes every once in a while, you don't need anything. You don't need a lot of stabilization, and you have time. This could be a great jig for you. If you're making furniture, crafts, anything to sell, and you need to put a lot of pocket holes and a lot of wood in the same exact spots and do things over and over again, this is certainly a great jig for you. Overall, though, I find Kreg jigs indispensable in my workshop. Okay, a few other things I will just point out before we move on. This jig is mostly made of plastic. There's metal where it matters though, and the plastic here is pretty good. The plastic on these bins, and you can kind of hear it. It's pretty flimsy, especially here. And I wouldn't be surprised if the plastic on here breaks in the next few years. Also, I will note this Kreg jig is made in China, and this one is made in the USA. Just a note, I always like to note where products I review are made, because a lot of people ask that question, and it's important to people like me and others too. So, all right, final thing I'll go through is I kind of showed you these screws that come with it, and I just want to point one thing out. There's a lot of screws that come with Kreg jigs. You can see these have pretty wide threads on them, and the threads are far apart. These are made for softwoods, like pine and things like that, and fir and spruce. They also, Kreg, and this is sold separately, they have screws for hardwood. Let me try to open this without spilling it everywhere. Notice it says for indoor use on it. Okay, so this is a 1 1/4 inch for hardwoods like oak and maple. And you can see the threads are much closer together, and they're also a little skinnier. It's because driving into hardwood is a lot different than driving into softwoods. There's a lot more resistance, and it's more likely that it can crack. And one last thing I will show too, and actually I totally forgot to show the scrap I did over here. These are the little pocket hole fillers. And on that note, I did some pocket holes on a piece of scrap here. I'll try to move this over. I made these holes with this jig here for the video, just to kind of show how it works. But you can see I had this piece of wood in here, clamped it down, drilled my pocket holes. Usually you want to have, when you actually join them, you want to butt this up against something flat, so you get a perfect square 90 degree. Mine is not perfect, but you can see I got my 2 screws in there. I put in with my driver bits, and these, in case you either want to hide all of your hardware, or if you for some reason have to have your pocket holes show, you can put these little fillers in there. They kind of hammer in. They don't stain very well, but you can use some wood filler and clean them up. But this is sold separately, and this is another thing that Kreg sells as well. And then finally, as far as drills, I just use my DeWalt 20 volt. Usually use the high speed option for these, so I get nice smooth holes. But pretty much any drill with a chuck will operate these, the drill bit and the driver bits. Okay. Okay, that pretty much concludes my video. It's basically a nice jig to make pocket holes, so you can join 2 pieces of wood, and you can do it pretty strong. You can see I'm putting a lot of pressure on that. Provides a nice bond. Like I said, this is an indispensable tool in my workshop. But anyway, that concludes my video, and I really hope it helped inform your purchasing decision. Thank you for watching.